Okay, that seems to be recorded already. All right. Okay. So welcome everyone. Thanks for joining this session, and thank you for being interested in this challenge. So we always want to see more students participating in the data science challenge. So this challenge is is the third challenge that we have organized as part of the IT Code Fair. So before I go further, I'd like to acknowledge all First Nations people across the lands on which we live and work, and we pay our respects to elders both past and present. Okay, I want to keep this short, and so that you can have a bit of time to ask any other questions that I may not cover. So I just want to go through this for the next 15 minutes. First, the rules and procedures of the challenge, and just some of the thoughts about how you should probably approach the problem. So I just want to quickly highlight a few things. The submission deadline is Wednesday, 18th of October, 12 noon, right? So the link to the submission can be found right here. So if you click on this link, that would actually bring you to this upload page. Okay. So if you do have a problem with this access denied, I'm not sure why it happens today. Just do let me know, and we'll find an alternative way to upload it. Okay. So that's the link. So what you need to do is to upload one zip file containing the Python scripts. So it could be Jupyter notebooks, your data sets, and also, if applicable, the requirements.txt file, so that we can sort of replicate your Python environment if we need to. Okay. So please label the file with the team's name. So I believe that you have the freedom to decide what your team's name is at the time of registration. So if there is a question about the registration process, please email the IT CodeFair team. Now, following the submission, so the presentation day, so this is the actual challenge date, and as well as the judging. At the moment, it's stated Tuesday, 24th October. I've received a recent change that we will move this to the next day, which is 25th of October. So you can just take note of that. So it's actually 25th of October, same time, right? So this web page will be updated as soon as we have the final confirmation, but that's pretty confirmed from my understanding. Okay. So if you are joining from, if you are in Casuarina, we would like you to be present in person in front of the judges to present your work. If you are joining from Sydney, or if you are external students, then we will facilitate your presentation live through MS Teams, right? So we will look at the final list of participants, and if we find that there are students coming from outside of Darwin, then we will send them a link to present their work on that day. But the time is the same. Take note that this is the time in the NT, right? So you need to follow our local time. You'll find the list of judges here, and I'm sure that you have read the mission statement and so on. And there are a list of judging criteria that the judges will use. Okay. So in terms of the duration of the presentation, that's 15 minutes pitching plus 5 minutes Q&A. So please adhere to this time strictly, because we have a limited time for this challenge. Okay, at this point, is there any question? So if you do have questions, you can either raise hands or just type the question in the chat. I will pick it up later. Okay. Okay. Now, a few thoughts about the how to approach the problem. Now, just a little bit of background. How the challenge came about is that we approached the NT government, in this case, the DCDD department, the Digital Strategy Department. So they gave us the problem statement. So in other words, this is what they're interested. The problem that we use for this challenge is really what the NT government is interested in finding out. But that also means that that we do not necessarily have a ready-to-use data sets, right? So I feel that one of the biggest challenge in this competition is to come up with a good data set. And on the web page, you'll find that I have provided a few links. These are basically a list of projects that have failed, right? So, but they do not necessarily exist in a data set that you can readily analyze. So you have to, as the first step, you have to identify a list of projects that fail, and then also another list of projects that are considered to be successful, right? And then from there, you need to decide what features will be useful in order to make the prediction. So essentially, you will be sort of predicting which project will fail and which project will not fail based on the features that you collected. There are a lot of flexibility, a lot of creativity that go into the featureization process. You can consider features that are specific to the project itself. It could be the duration, when it started, which department owns it, the size of the project, the complexity of the project, maybe the value of the project, and so on. But in addition to that, you might want also to consider the micro and macroeconomics factors that could be at play during when the project was run, right? So those factors may have influence on whether the project actually overrun in terms of budget and time and so on. There are also possible questions about the vendors that the project engage with, right, etc. So you need to think carefully what kind of features that you want to build into your data set. So I would imagine, because I'm not the judge, but I would imagine that the judges would want to see a data set that is comprehensive, right? And also a set of relevant features. Now, these features do not need to be automated. You could start probably, I would recommend that you start with features that you collect manually, right? So you need to make sure that that it is high quality features, and then probably towards the end you can try to do web scraping as to identify some additional features, right? But don't just rely on features that are generated automatically, because you tend to have a lot of noises as well when you employ automation that way. Right. So think about that. Okay. In terms of framing the problems, I've mentioned that this seems to me like a classification problem. So you try to classify which project that will fail, which one that will not fail. Right. So this can be binary, or you could come up with maybe non-binary categories, maybe predicting. So because the whether fail or not fail, it is also subject to interpretation, right? So it could fail in terms of budget, but not fail in terms of the duration of the project, right? So you may it's not necessary to just constrain yourself to predicting fail versus not fail. It could be predicting budget overrun or the duration overrun and so on. Whether this can be tackled as a regression problem, it may, but depending on how you would conceive success in numerical form, right? Because if you want to run regression, you're predicting continuous values. So the question is how would you quantify success? Okay, and there could be a challenge in terms of having limited data points. You may not have um, a lot of projects that you could include or you could identify. So with regression, you probably need more data points to build a good regression model. So I'm more inclined to see this as a classification problem. Okay. A few other things. Class balance. So if you frame the problem as classification, you want to have a balanced number of projects that fail as well as projects that succeeded, right? If it is not balanced, then you need to look into some techniques that could fix those imbalance, right? So there are techniques such as oversampling, undersampling, SMOT. So those can be actually used to correct class imbalance. Okay. Multi-level classification, that's another possible way of looking at the problem. So you probably could cluster the projects, similar projects first, and then you run classification per cluster. So that could be done. Another possibility is to consider transfer learning because the challenge specifically asks for IT projects, right? So there could be similar solutions that have been carried out for non-IT projects. So you could probably, if there's such model, there's a possibility actually to train your model on those data set and then transfer it to your data set. So that's basically what transfer learning is about. Okay. Yeah. A few more points. Don't forget about visualizations, right? Remember the judges, majority of the judges are non-technical people, right? We have one technical person, so that's Liam. Gazal is from law and business. Ewan and Don, they are from the NTG. They are senior managers, so they are not necessarily technical people. So it's important to keep that in mind and having some interesting visualizations that help them to understand your results. And also remember to provide a good interpretations of your results. In terms of measuring the performance of your classifiers, remember not to just report the accuracy. You need to also report the recall, the precision, and the F1 score, and so on, right? So please use a more comprehensive set of metrics when you report the performance of your model. So lastly, just before I open this room for Q&A, I just want to show um, sample presentations from last year, right? Just to give you more ideas how to prepare the slides. Okay, so here's from one team. So this is how the presentation looked like. So the topic was different last year. It was analyzing legislations. So a lot more natural language processing stuff. Okay, so this is so as you can see, it is also okay to actually have questions to the judges. So it can also demonstrate that you are engaged with the problem. You give a lot of thoughts to the problem. So it is okay at the end of the presentation to actually throw question to the judges as well. So I'm going to show another sample. right? So this is also from last year. So it's also good to sort of acknowledge the limitations of your work or specific challenges that you find it hard to overcome. So it will not necessarily be the cause of losing points. But in fact, it could probably show that you are quite aware of the limitations of the machine learning approach, okay, which can be a good thing. All right. So any questions? So we have time for questions. Oh, good. Okay. Okay, you can either raise hands or type the questions. Technique tools. Could you kind of suggest some technique tools? Um, so obviously, if it is a classification problem, so we are talking about Python, right? So the yeah, the package that comes to mind would be scikit-learn. So scikit-learn has a lot of classifiers. I think we do not have we are not running short of classifiers to use. So you need to have a baseline. If it is classifier, a useful baseline would be simple classifiers like knife base. So knife base usually they don't perform very well, but they are a good baseline. And then you would try some other classifiers that have proven to be quite powerful. Uh, so usually I would go with SVM, support vector machines, or random forests, and then the classical neural networks. You can try that. Mm, um, XGBoost, that's another one that is pretty powerful nowadays. XGBoost. So those are some of the more popular classifiers. But really, I feel that the challenge here is the features. You need, if you can come up with the good features, that I think that's the main key factor. So you could have if it is a bad set of features, no matter how which classifier you use, you may not get a very good results. Um, can we seek help while we work on the challenge? I would probably not, because I did not do that for the past few competition. I think I would want to refrain from giving help, because we want this challenge to be as fair as possible to all students. So probably I would say no. But if it is just clarifying what you read on the website, yes, you can write to me, right? But I should not give anything further than that. Okay, just to make this a fair competition. Um, I'm not quite sure about the term high-profile IT project failures. Does it include all projects or just ones with large scale? Okay, good question. In your data set, please make sure that you include some of these that are mentioned. The RoboDebt, the Queensland Health Payroll System, MyKey, because when I spoke to the judges, these are some of the names that they mentioned. So I believe they want to see some of these IT project failures in your data set. Okay. Yeah, several high profile. It's a little bit hard to. I'm not in the right position to define what high profile is, but some of the things that are mentioned in this list of IT project failures, so that's probably what we mean by high profile. So first include those high profile IT projects first, and then if you find any other failed IT projects, especially that are in the public area, could be governmental or non-governmental projects, so you can then include them as well. So for the classification method, how many cases do you think we should collect? I think to be workable, you probably need at least 100. 100 cases, maybe 50 that fail, 50 that succeeded. I think that's you need to have at least that number to get to have a model that is useful. But that also depends on the quality of your features. So you could have lots of cases, thousands, but if the features are not good, it may not yield very good outcome as well. But you may have maybe not that many cases, but the features are really good, then you might get good model. Yeah. And here it also says that it can be from worldwide. So after you have included cases from Australia, you can expand your search to worldwide, right? But when you do so in the presentation, it might also be good to highlight to the judges how many percentages of the cases are from Australia and how many are worldwide. But they need to be IT project because the judges are interested in IT projects. Yeah, good questions. Any more questions? Yes. Do we have, this is a team. Yeah, you need to be in a team. So this is a team of 2 to 4 students. So it can be a team of 2, of 3, or 4. Okay. But not 5. And not individual. Okay. At the due date of submission, what do we need to submit? PowerPoint file, Word file, or only Word file? Yeah, the submission due date, we are so 18, right? What we want are your this zip file. Okay. So not the, yeah. So we, at the minimum, you must include your codes, your data sets. If you want to include other things, reports, you can, but the judges are not going to read a report. So you don't have to write a report. Okay. So after you have submitted your code, then you have about, so between 18 to 25th. So that's about 8 days to, yeah, 7 days to prepare for your slides. So you do not need to submit the slides on the 18th. You can just bring the slides on the day itself, right? Now, to be safe, if you can actually email me your slides maybe 1 or 2 days before the presentation, so that just in case you want to have a backup. Okay. How many variables do you suggest? Okay. Oh, how many variables do you suggest? I don't know. I think as many variables as you can find. But remember, you need to balance the quantity of the variables. with the quality. So probably you can probably look at to start with maybe 10, 10 and above. So that's probably usually a good number of variables to start with. Okay, the more, the better. Okay. Can you clarify the judging criteria? Yes, I can. The judging criteria look at innovation, sophistication, results, scalability, automation, presentation. I can't share the judging sheet, but I can just quickly give you an idea. In terms of innovation, it looks at creativity and originality. Okay. So this I would suppose that this has to do more with the featureization process because running classifiers are pretty standard. But also it could also refer to how creative you are in optimizing your classifiers. Okay, so this could refer to the featureization process as well as the way you build the classifiers. But again, you're not asked to create new algorithms, right? But just use existing algorithms, but there are different ways to optimize the algorithms. So you can consider hyperparameter optimization because some algorithms require you to get the right settings. So you can try different settings for the classifier. Then you can probably improve the results. And in terms of sophistication, we are looking at whether the process that you follow is logical and whether the way you approach the problem is systematic, right? So you could have many different kinds of experimentations with your model. So that could sort of help with the sophistication aspect of the solution. In terms of results, it needs to precisely address the mission, right? So if the judges wants A, but we deliver B, then that does not address the mission. So you have to always make sure that you are answering the mission. And results are accessible to non-technical audience. So the way you present the results need to be suitable for non-technical audience as well. Okay. The results make sense. Okay. So you need to be able to sort of, if you find that certain features are quite predictive, you need to be ready to explain why those features are predictive. So what are the possible explanation for that? Okay. The results are insightful. So probably if you can find things that are not normally considered as a key factor in project failures, but your results reveal additional information. So that could help with the result section as well. Scalability. Now, this is probably referred to more scalability and automation. So if some features can be automatically generated or scraped from websites and so on, so that could help with this aspect. And finally, presentation. So the judges want to see that the presentation is compelling, engaging, and they may ask questions. They will definitely ask questions, and they will want to see how you respond to those questions, right? And presentation was completed within the time limit provided, right? So this is where probably rehearsing the presentation with your teammates is critical. And finally, visually attractive. Okay, so that will help with the presentation as well. How to define IT project? I mean, there are some IT related to other industry projects. Yeah, I think e-business can be considered as IT projects. All right, I'm mindful of the time. Any maybe one or two last questions before we close? Yeah, regarding scalability, can you explain more about scalability? So scalability means that let's say if I want to um, use your code to investigate other types of projects that are non-IT, right? So can I just use the code to automatically collect information for those projects, or do I need to do a lot of manual feature collection? So if you can automate some part of the feature collection, so that can contribute to scalability. Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's so now it's 1 p.m. I am mindful of the time. So if that will be the end of today's session. If you want to stay for another 5 minutes, you can for a chat. Otherwise, that will be the end of today's session. So we look forward to your submission, because in the past we have teams, a lot of teams that registered, but they did not submit uh, the solution. So we really look forward to you submitting solutions. I think whether you win or not, that's secondary. The value in this challenge is to make yourself known to some of these judges, right? Because they could be in the hiring position. And also, this is also an opportunity for you to build your data science portfolio that you can then demonstrate and bring into your interview next time. All right. Yeah. Thank you and all the best.